All right, I do see that Raikou V in the list.
Oh, he does have it still. Okay, I didn't notice it when I was watching his game earlier, but it is still here. Okay.
Yeah, it may have just been hiding there for you, Chip, but there is a Raikou V. We do see a Zigzagoon in the list as well, so we could see some potential surprise pings here for that Zigzagoon. So it is going to be a little bit of combo deck. As I've always said, Arceus is a bit of a plug-and-play deck that you get to really play around whatever your play style is, whatever you think you are metagaming against, what you want to perform well against, what you think is going to show up in large numbers for the day. And this is going to be an awesome matchup with another Mew VMAX.
2 rounds in a row, 2 Mew VMAXs, making up for the fact we only saw a couple yesterday, I guess.
Yes.
Here we go. Everyone loves to watch some high action, and this is going to be no exception. So let's look at Joao's list a little bit and see kind of what the answers are, how he's respecting Mew VMAX. There's no darkness type energies, no darkness type Pokemon, nothing like the Crobat VMAX that we've seen here and there, no Galarian Moltres or anything like that. Seems like he is really just going to be relying on his 3 copies of Path to the Peak, and then has a couple of other disruption options, the Avery, the Marnie, and the Roxanne. All of these cards can be pretty powerful in this matchup.
Yeah, which we just got to see in our last Mew VMAX matchup, that that Path to the Peak and the Marnie that stuck, which is always what you want to see as the Arceus player going into this setup. But you also have just a slight advantage as well, because you're just a 2-prize Pokemon and you only play 2-prize Pokemon versus the Mew VMAX, of course, being a 3-prize Pokemon. Now, on the counter part of that, there is still outs to not giving up your 3-prize Pokemon for the Mew VMAX player. There are ways, I mean, you have free retreat, there's ways to switch around things. We saw the Psychic Leap to just jump straight back into the deck and deny those prize cards, putting all of the damage, well, really taking all the damage off and just putting everything back into the deck. So there are some interesting plays that we could potentially see from both of these players strategizing against each other. I'm sure they're both very familiar with this matchup, 2 very popular decks. The only thing is we might not know all of the cards from the Arceus Inteleon, at least for the Mew VMAX, but just because you know, they play so many different variations of cards.
Yeah, there's plenty of different options with these Inteleon decks. You can play tech supporters really easily. You can play you know, tech item cards or tech different attackers even, since you just accelerate so many different types of basic energy out of the deck.
Yeah, so it's always a bit of a surprise here that you're waiting for. All right, let's check out these prize cards here.
Nothing too terrible on either side. The one Fusion Strike energy isn't the best. A couple of searching cards from Samuel could be a little annoying, but as long as he can get some Genesect in play and start drawing through the deck, it shouldn't be too terrible.
Yeah, Ultra Ball's not only good for searching, but also good for dwindling down as well. So unfortunately, if Samuel is stuck with a hand that he's not really able to do much with, because you can't play any of the cards, you can't really use Ultra Ball to just throw those cards away and search out whatever you need, and then also be able to Fusion Strike system for even more. So we are going to see the Quick Ball discarding another Ultra Ball as well. No knowledge at this point for Samuel until now, looking through the deck, that the other 2 Ultra Balls are prized. So that is going to be 3 Ultra Balls down already for Samuel, unless they can be taken out of the prize cards here. So on this first turn for Samuel, of course, we always want to see that Battle VIP pass. I did not get to see the rest of the hand, Chip. I don't know if you did either.
It didn't quite get a peek. We'll see
Let's check it out.
He's got to work with. We see a Choice Belt, Rose Tower, and a Rotom Phone, so we can thin this hand out pretty nicely. You would love to hold the Rose Tower, so if he finds a Battle VIP pass here...
we might see it. We might see it.
And he does find it.
Rotom Phone's such a strong card in this deck. Look at the top 5 cards. Choose one, shuffle the rest of your deck, and then put that card on the top. So you just draw straight into it, either at this point from the Fusion Strike system or potentially that Rose Tower as well.
Yeah, I would love to see Samuel hold off on putting Rose Tower in play, keeping it as a response to a Path to the Peak. He will choose to throw it down, still does just want to value setting up as much as possible, which I can't fault him for.
Yeah, there is actually no Pumpkaboo in this list, which is a little bit different from the Mew VMAX we just saw in the last round. So we will not be seeing any bump as far as that. In order to get any Path of the Peak out of play, it has to be bumped with another Stadium card.
Samuel going first is going to be in a solid position here because he can target down potentially an Arceus V on the next turn and take a 2-prize KO. It's definitely what he'll be trying to set up, but this turn is not over yet, Boo. We've got a couple Fusion Strike systems coming and a Quick Ball in hand to even get another Fusion Strike Pokemon out.
Here we go, and just a quick check of the list following up there as well. Samuel also plays 2 Training Courts and 1 Rose Tower, so 3 stadiums total for Samuel. We will definitely be tracking that throughout the game.
Going to be something important to keep track of.
All right, so 2 battle VIP passes here for Samuel. What you always want to see as the Mew VMAX player, getting your bench set up as soon as you possibly can. And it's just great to see this deck for everyone watching at home as well. You see the power that you have with Mew VMAX, how consistent it can be with all of these dig cards that you have. You're just rotating through your deck, through all these cards, dwindling down your hand, drawing into more. And that is why it is also so powerful to go first before you can even be put on that path to the peak, to just get that optimal setup in order to be able to draw out of a potential path to the peak.
Yeah, and honestly, if you have enough of a setup, path to the peak doesn't even matter quite as much because you just have an attacker ready to go. So you don't care if you're using abilities if you're swinging for 210 damage every turn.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of leeway to just feel comfortable in your matchup, know that you have options there, and that at some point you are potentially going to be hitting that stadium card and being able to bump it. So we are going now to João on this turn Quick Ball here, discarding an energy switch. That is an interesting card that we don't see too often, but it's definitely a great card in this deck for sure. And just looking through the deck right now for João, looking at what is prized, what do I need to be focusing on here? Of course, probably going to take that Sobble out with the Quick Ball.
Yeah, I think the decision to play Energy Switch in this deck is probably just a product of including the Raikou V. You want to be able to surprise that out of nowhere. Just bench it, Energy Switch 1 onto it, attach a Lightning for turn, and boom, you get hit for Lightning weakness out of nowhere. Which
obviously doesn't affect Mew here.
Right. Just as the inclusion in the deck in general.
Absolutely, but yeah, so not scared to discard the energy switch if Chip is saying that that is what the play is mainly used for. So
Capture Energy, one of my favorite cards to see. I love including this card into decks because you want to attach an energy card every turn, so why not utilize Capture Energy to get you an extra Pokemon as well.
Did see the big charm come down on that Arceus V, boosting the hit points plus 30 for the bench Arceus V. So we did talk about this a little bit in the last matchup here. You want to make sure that you are getting out your attackers. I mean, we saw this strategy being played out by Brian before, just getting out as many attackers as possible and making sure that you have backup plans, which is so important with Mew VMAX, which is a deck that can just overpower you so quickly, and you need to have responses lined up for that. So we did see the Marnie here as well for both players, drawing Samuel into 4 cards and João initiating the Marnie into a 5-card hand.
And I do believe João drew into a path to the peak.
I did see it. I did see it in hand.
So this would be a great turn to play that card. And I actually don't think Samuel had a very powerful hand at all. But the problem here is actually João doesn't have a very powerful hand at all. He's sitting on an Intellion and a Pal Pad, and now is just passing it over. What does Samuel have?
Oh, wow. This could be huge.
Flip. And it is a heads.
Oh, feeling comfortable with the stadiums and being able to bump those paths to the peaks. If you have that Cramomatic, and honestly, discarding a power tablet is not an easy choice to make. They are very valuable in all of your matchups, boosting your damage output. So sacrificing that to the Cramomatic definitely played off for Samuel here, being able to bump that stadium and now give access to Fusion Strike system on all of those Genesects to draw more cards into the hand.
And that was an excellent draw there for Samuel, and hitting the heads. Super good, exactly what he wanted to see. And he's actually even got a boss's orders in hand, so he could be aggressive after this Arceus that has the big charm and the energy. He does need another modifier, and he also needs a switching card. So for now, we will just see Alessa's Sparkle throw a couple of Fusion Strike energies into play. And if he finds another energy card, we could actually see the active Meloetta just attack.
Well, if that boss's order stays in hand, though, that could be a sticky situation for João down the line here.
Right.
Because we could see some very powerful plays from Samuel. So we will see if we see any more hand disruption from João, which is kind of the strategy for this matchup for him to play into. But that boss's orders could definitely become relevant very quickly.
Choosing to draw a couple of cards off of Fusion Strike system. Does draw into another Mew VMAX. Also has another Cramomatic, and it's going to discard another Power Tablet. This one hits a Tails.
Did not pay off that time, but obviously the first one was a little bit more important there because that could have been critical for the decline for Samuel in this game. Unfortunately, if that had not turned out to be a heads. So, but always sad.
Would you see
Is that three?
A shoes, grabs the shoes, discards the cards to get the third shoes.
More shoes. I call them dad shoes. I love it. All right, there we go. Going through those shoes. And then we are actually going to be hard retreating out of that Meloetta into a Technoblast off of that Genesect V on bench, which does bring in the attribute that we talked about before, Genesect V with the Technoblast. It does limit that Pokemon that attacked.
And Pedro, João just has nothing in this hand. An Energy, an Inteleon, and a Pow Pad. This is not looking good. He could attach and go for the Trinity Charge, but that is just so slow, and it's just asking to get KO'd by anything Samuel wants to do.
We are going to see that hand disruption. Oh, wait, was that?
A Pow Pad.
Oh, that was
back
Pow
the Marnie,
Pad. Okay,
yes.
okay. Putting back the Marnie into the deck, shuffling it back in there. But yeah, Chip, that hand was not looking good at all. Is that just an Energy and an Inteleon?
That's right. That's all that's left after playing that Pow Pad.
That is brutal. Absolutely brutal. This is a very, very difficult situation for João to be in right now, and it is looking bleak.
Yeah, I almost wonder if this is like we're too far gone strategy. This Mew VMAX deck could just pull a little too far ahead. João thinks that there's still some win condition, though, wants to stick around at least for one more turn, play to that low % chance, and just maybe he can pull out a win if, you know, for some reason Samuel misses an attack here. He did, of course, just use Technoblast, so.
Yeah, so there needs to be a switching card in hand for Samuel to be able to attack again with that Mew VMAX, because as Chip just said, the Technoblast does limit that ability. But, of course, retreating out of it gets rid of that effect. But seeing 2 Power Tablets already down for Samuel from Joao's perspective probably feels pretty good. But there is another Power Tablet in hand for Samuel that I saw as well.
Alessa Sparkle is a solid start. I think that Samuel did draw the other Fusion Strike Energy out of the prize card, so now can attach for turn to that Meloetta, retreat into it, and if he has a Power Tablet, he'll actually just knock out this Arceus even through the Big Charm.
Oof, that could be very brutal to see.
Oh, I think he's got it. Yeah, Fusion Strike Energy in hand, Power Tablet. I think as soon as he plays those cards, we're going to probably just see João scoop it up.
I think so too, which means we would be going into a game 2 here. Yep, João giving the thumbs up there.
Yep.
Notifying, yes, I know what's happening here.
And now deciding to concede this one, knowing, hey, I can't win if this Arceus goes down. Let's just go ahead and scoop it up, make sure we've got plenty of time for another couple games.
And that just shows you how Samuel has gotten to this 8-1-2 position. Just coming out there, being confident in the deck. I mean, we did get an interview yesterday with Samuel talking about, well, I'm going to draw into the cards that I need, and I'm just going to pretty much overpower you in this situation. Is this entire strategy, and it worked so well there because especially in so many of these matchups, both with the Origin Form Palkia decks and also the Arceus decks sometimes, their first couple of turns can be very clunky before you get into that V-Star ability, the Starbirth, to be able to search out what you need to really set up your hands. It can get very clunky if you draw into a very difficult turn 1. So that is unfortunately how we saw it play out here for João, but things could go very differently here for Samuel, especially if João opts to go first, which I would assume he would in this situation, but you never know here. But that could be an interesting situation for Samuel to be in as well, in a little bit of a different perspective, being able to play a supporter card because he would be going second at that point, but really potentially not being able to pop off as hard as we saw in that first match, because you might be hit with an early path to the peak as well, depending on what is in.
Ooh.
I was looking at that chip. I was
Double
like,
shady dealings Intellion
Not
in
like
the
this.
prize cards for João. That
Not
card
like this.
is so important for this deck. And even over on the other side, Samuel prized a bunch of Pokemon, a couple of Genesects and a Mew V. So we could see some clunky plays from both of these players.
That is brutal.
I think the Capture Energy was the top deck for turn here from João, which is an excellent card to see. The best turn to play Capture Energy is honestly just on turn 1. Get yourself another Sobble in play, maybe another Arceus, whatever piece you may want. And I think João here is going to be fine just getting a couple of Sobbles.
Yeah, João searching through the deck and probably realizing, oh no, 2 of my Shady Dealings Intellions are prized. And that is very, very critical information to have early on in the game, because you could potentially be lining up plays that you are not able to carry out without that Shady Dealings ability. So for João to identify that now, be able to play around it, conserve his resources as much as possible. Definitely, if scoop up nets are an option with the Drizziles, that really is going to be very important in this scenario. So making sure there are Sobbles down, draw engine outs, because that is a difficult situation to be in.
So João will choose to get another Arceus V in play. Maybe could have grabbed a Sobble, because I don't think it's really likely Samuel's getting a knockout on an Arceus. I don't actually think there's a way. We know that Samuel doesn't have Pokemon Catcher. And João saw a decent amount of Samuel's deck last game. Maybe could make the assumption that Pokemon Catcher is not available, but regardless, 2 Arceuses come down. And once again, look at that, Boo! Another
Our
Battle VIP
favorites.
pass.
I think we're lucky as a casting team for our Mew players, Chip, because all of the ones we've casted so far have gotten multiple Battle VIP passes, usually on their first turn, but always has that one Battle VIP pass. So Samuel being able to play that, also searching through the deck there as well, but also going to be able to search out 2 basic Pokemon and put them straight onto the bench. Of course, most likely going to opt for those Genesect Vs. Samuel, I'm sure, searching through now, seeing what is in the prize cards, which, as we said before, is also very critical in this situation for Samuel too. Both of these players right now having kind of precarious prize card situations.
Yeah, I didn't actually really notice Samuel take too much time in game 1 to check his prize cards. Kind of just went through the deck pretty quickly, played his own game, but taking a little bit more time here, which I definitely think is good to do, especially since we know that there are 2 Genesect V hiding in the prizes. These 2 that are in play now are going to be his only ones for the game until he starts taking KOs.
All right, here we go. The Trekking Shoes. Boss's Order being discarded from it to draw into another card. I think it was into that Meloetta, which was then benched here. We're going to see the Cramomatic here with the Echoing Horn. Oh, it does not pay off for Samuel, unfortunately, with that flip. Choice Belt coming down onto the Mew V with that Fusion Energy as well. And then the Genesect V Fusion Strike system into additional cards for turn. Ultra Ball, Power Tablet, double Turbo Energy. Choosing to discard both of the Power Tablet and the double Turbo.
Those are pretty good cards.
Very good cards, especially in this situation, especially for late game, for making sure that you can maintain momentum with Mew as well. So that is a very difficult decision there for Samuel to make, but I think he's valuing the early game setup and overpowering his opponent, João, here more than the Power Tablet and the Energy. Maybe just thinking, well, if I can just win it, then I won't need him in the late game, you know? So here we go, drawing off of that other Genesect V here. The rotated ones on the board signify that they have been activated.
Let's see here if Samuel can find Oricorio, which he does grab, and that is
immediately.
Excellent card to put down because it's going to be much harder for João to KO a Mew V even this turn. It's going to only be taking 160 damage from an Arceus V-Star with a double turbo on it. So if João wants to get a 2-prize KO this turn, he's going to have to find a Choice Belt as well.
All right, so retreating out of that Mew V, keeping it safe there on the bench and into the Oricorio, putting that into the active position here and just passing it back over to João. We saw the draw for turn. We're going to now see the evolution into the Drizzile, activating that Shady Dealings ability to search out a trainer card here for João. This is a very essential decision that he's going to have to make because every single turn against Mew VMAX is so critical because you're kind of on a ticking time clock.
Yeah.
You know, you want to get set up as best as possible, not only for yourself, but because you want to be able to hinder your opponent's ability to continue to draw into what they need and capitalize on their own momentum, which is very fast-paced, very powerful, and that could be an issue for João.
And that is a great grab off that first Shady Dealings from João, getting the Scoop Up Net, picking up Drizzile, going into the Arceus, and now, thanks to Scoop Up Net, can reuse Drizzile on the Sobble that was already in play, which now grabs Evolution Incense, and we see that one card eyed up right away being Avery. This is an excellent turn to play it because it's going to be a tough choice for Samuel as to what he wants to discard.
Yeah, so really there we saw 2 Drizzile evolutions and the Starbirth V-Star power ability be used as well to search out all of those cards.
And you can see this is a tough call for Samuel. Does decide to get rid of a Mew and a Meloetta, though.
Wow. That is an extremely tough call there. All right, now we, no, stuck with the path as well, forcing Samuel to have answers in this upcoming turn to this situation, and then also taking the knockout here on the Oricorio from that Trinity Nova.
This is huge now with only 3 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. Even top decking something like a Stadium isn't going to be that good because you can only draw a couple of cards at most.
Yeah, that is brutal, being played into from the path to the peak. Right now, of course, João is still executing that Trinity Nova because not only does it hit for that 180 with the slight damage modifier of the double turbo, but you also get to accelerate 3 basic energy from your deck onto your V Pokemon in any which way that you like.
And Samuel's draw for turn is just a switch. His only option to even attack here is going to be Psychic Leap, so he just chooses to retreat into Genesect. This is a massive opening for João.
Massive, and we will see what happens here, kind of taking the advantage in this matchup. I'm sure João is feeling much more comfortable as turns pass by.
If he can get a Drizzile and a Boss's Orders here, targeting down Mew, that would be huge, but he actually has a Drizzile in the prizes. Is the third one in the deck here? Or has he discarded it potentially? There it is. Okay, hiding in the deck. Shady Dealings comes out, and this, I have to feel like it's getting Boss's Orders.
Yep, and that is exactly what we're going to see here at the boss. And I think Samuel is actually saying, yeah, I don't have any answers for this. Unfortunately, I could not play out of this path to the peak. My hand was not good enough. And not for lack of trying, Samuel had to make some heavy discards there to be able to just try to set up as much as possible. But unfortunately, it didn't work out there too well for him, but there's still 29 minutes left in the match, so there's plenty of time still for both of these players to finish up a Game 3.
Yeah, great decisions on the timing from both of these players, conceding as soon as there was really no realistic path for them to come back into the game. Once their main attacker was getting KO'd before they really had a chance to establish any more of a board presence, just deciding to scoop the cards up, move on to the next game. And that's going to result in a Game 3 with 30 minutes to play. Yeah,
you don't want to concede too soon, and you don't want to concede too late. So that good timing is just kind of evidence of a skillful player here, analyzing everything in these matchups, what their options are, what a Game 3 would look like potentially. And really, we've seen kind of difficult setups for both of these players now. And it's really a toss-up which way it's going to go this time around, just because we could be seeing that on either side, or we could be seeing the opposite. Both players get incredible setups. In this situation, though, I think Joao's incredible setup kind of depends on limiting Samuel's ability to actually play his deck as he wants to, which is also just drawing into tons of cards. So that is going to be a little bit of an interesting thing to watch here if it does play out to Joao's advantage.
Let's see some of these prize cards if there's anything too bad. A Collapse Stadium and Intellion for Joao. Nothing too terrible from Samuel. One Battle VIP pass, so less likely to have one to start with, which isn't great. And Alessa Sparkle and a Boss, but not too bad.
One less Cramomatic to be able to search it out potentially too, but we don't know what is in the opening hand yet, but let's get it started.
I do see one thing.
Oh my gosh.
Battle VIP pass.
Back at it again with the Battle VIP pass for Samuel. Here we go. All right, searching out those two basic Pokemon, of course, as we've seen throughout these matches. It is going to be a Genesect V and a Mew V this time for Samuel as well.
Yeah, you want to establish a Mew pretty quickly so that in these Arceus matchups you can threaten Boss's orders for a KO on the next turn. But of course you need to get plenty of Genesects out because that is really the lifeline for your deck, trying to Fusion Strike system and see as many cards as possible.
Yeah, and there is, Samuel did start with a Genesect V in the active position as well. So that is still of use to Samuel, even though it is not on the bench there. So we see the double turbo energy being attached first thing to this Mew V, and we are going to see the Rose Tower being played and drawn into as well off of that hand.
There is an Ultra Ball here, and that is two tough cards to lose. Fusion Strike, Energy, and a Mew VMAX. The way Samuel has been playing this deck from what we've seen, it's just like, I want to get through the deck. If I'm losing key resources, I don't care. I just want to have access to everything that is available to me. I want to thin my hand out as much as possible and see as many cards as possible.
Yeah, it's still a pretty good starting turn here for Samuel. We're seeing a lot of Pokemon hit the bench right now. But honestly, things could change really quickly as well. Joao taking the time to make sure to cut that deck, and we will see what Samuel draws off of that first Fusion Strike system, going straight into another Fusion Strike system.
And it will just be a pass. Doesn't have enough cards to thin out to use the last one. I think had one Fusion Strike system left, and oh no, Joao's hand is terrible. He's got a bunch of energies, Evolution Incense, and a Scoop Up Net. Raihan as well as the only supporter. He can use Keep Calling this turn, but he is going to be missing an Arceus V on turn 1.
That is brutal here right now. So we will see that Keep Calling being activated. Search your deck for up to 3 basic Rapid Strike Pokemon. So the only Pokemon we're going to be seeing hit the bench here are those Sobbles. So those will be able to fill up the bench. But unfortunately, missing that Arceus V is critical in this matchup. Like, that is brutal to see from Joao. Unfortunately, I'm sure not a situation you want to be seeing, but still there are ways around it depending on how the rest of this game will play out and what Samuel draws into as well.
Yeah, Joao maybe checking out those promo Arceus Vs, checking the corners. Maybe this is a misprint with the Rapid Strike stamp on it, because he would love to keep calling one of those into play, but it does not quite work like that, unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately. So we are seeing all of the Sobbles being activated now, all 4 of them. It's the Sobble army here against Mew VMAX.
Meditating as they will, trying to...
collectively.
Trying to come together for their trainer, but in this spot it is looking really tough, and Samuel has piece number 1, which is a switch to get this Mew V into the active spot, needing a VMAX and also a actually doesn't even need a boss. There's no Arceus. He just
Cramomatic here.
Okay.
This is an important flip. It is a heads.
And that can get the VMAX.
Samuel never hesitating to just toss these power tablets to the wind. I love the confidence here.
He says, you know what, it's worth getting rid of if I know I'm going to hit heads.
Yeah, exactly. And I need this Mew VMAX as well, so that's
that's probably the main reason, right?
That's great. All right, here we go. So Samuel evolving now into that Mew VMAX. and just taking the time to shuffle here. 23 minutes left on the clock still, so still plenty of time for this game 3.
Does have a replacement stadium in hand, so he could thin a card out, but I think it would be best to hold on to those pieces, and thankfully Samuel agrees. You want to have some responses to a potential path to the peak.
That was actually 2 replacement stadiums in hand, both training courts as well. So all stadiums currently are somewhere in vicinity of the board. So 1 is on the board and 2 are in hand for Samuel. So if we do see any sort of hand disruption, those are going to the bottom.
It will just be a Techno Blast being copied by Cross Fusion Strike. Samuel takes the first KO.
On that lone Sobble that was in the active position, but there's plenty more Sobbles to get through here. So only 1 prize card there for Samuel. And now we are on Joao's turn, trying to see what he can even set up here. There is a level ball to access a Drizzile, but that Drizzile's 1 search off that Shady Dealings is going to be incredibly important here right now, because there's nothing else on the board for Joao. There's no energies out, there is no Arceus V down, so this is a very critical moment in this matchup.
We'll see what Joao does. He does have the Raihan in hand, which can accelerate the energy from the discard pile and then search him any 1 card out of the deck. So will he try to establish 2 Arceus V this turn, trying to prep for a potential boss's orders? What is he going to try and pull off? We're
seeing the Quick Ball discarding an electric energy to search out a basic Pokemon. I'm sure we know what Joao is going to go for here, the attacker that he's been needing. That Arceus V, and it is the beautiful alt art Arceus as well. That's like my favorite art of that card. It is so pretty.
Yeah, it is. Artwork.
It is the promo.
Big fan of that one as well. Came out in Japan alongside the release of the Pokemon Legends Arceus game. And
Great
now
game.
We see Scoop Up Net in hand. Could reset this Drizzile. Also, Evolution Incense could even get another Drizzile.
2 Drizziles is never a bad situation to be in. So here we go. That's actually exactly what we're going to see happen. Eyeing down that Drizzile and then choosing it, just choosing whether to evolve the active or the benched. With the active evolved, we could also see a Scoop Up Net, which I already saw in hand for Joao. So if that Scoop Up Net is placed onto the board, scooping up the Drizzile that's in active position, being able to promote another Pokemon and also reuse the Drizzile onto that benched Sobble.
And Scoop Up Net, I think, is going to reset the Drizzile. We can see another Sobble coming down, and
there we go.
Shady Dealings once again.
That is 3 Drizzile Shady Dealings turns in 1.
Oh, and this is going to pay off massively for Joao, because Samuel just so happens to have his only other 2 stadium cards in hand. Joao is going for the Marnie plus path play and hoping it sticks, and I think it could work out.
Oh my gosh, I said it before. This could be very bad if we see some hand disruption, because those 2 training courts are going to be going to the bottom of the deck, which is exactly what we're going to see, and there's no possible way. Like we said, Samuel doesn't play Pumpkaboo, so I don't think there's any possible way for Samuel to be able to bump that path off of this draw.
Yeah, I don't think so. It would have to be a Cramomatic Heads. That would be the one way to do it.
That is the one way. If we saw that, that would be incredible, but I don't think I see it in the hand.
A couple of item cards, though, so if the draw for turn could be a Cramomatic,
that'd be huge.
It would be.
But then we'd also need a pretty huge coin flip as well.
That is true. All right, Boo, we'll see what Joao has remaining in the hand. And Ultra Ball to play out could get another Arceus V, but that currently is the only way for him to get an Arceus V-Star next turn, I think.
Using that Ultra Ball, discarding 2 cards to go for another Arceus V.
He may have actually had a level ball in hand, so that could get the other Drizzile, which can get Evolution Incense. So we could still see an Arceus V-Star next turn.
Okay, well, that's great. Yeah, because that Arceus V, again, if maybe you're just joining us, has just been played this turn, so it is not able to evolve just yet. But Joao being able to potentially play into his hand to line up everything for the next turn.
Rotom Phone is just going to have to be the play for Samuel, hoping for some help.
Oh, here we go. There is the Cramomatic there.
but is going to have to rely on that being a heads. Could
Yes,
just grab
so it's kind of
Alessa's
risky.
Sparkle, and that is what
Yes.
Samuel actually goes for.
He also gets the shuffle here, which is very
Right.
important as well. So grabbing that Alessa's, but being able to shuffle those training courts. And as you can see here, Samuel taking the time to make sure those are real shuffled cards right now, because having those training courts together at the bottom of the deck was very brutal to see. But here we go, putting that Alessa's on top.
So we know what the top deck will be next turn, and it can at least lead to Samuel attacking. For now, he'll just retreat to Oricorio and pass.
Free retreat from that Mew VMAX into the Oricorio. So João being able to now get the cards that he needs to propel himself forward. So even though we saw quite a slow setup from João, again, we are seeing the power of that path to the peak sticking. Samuel being in a precarious situation, having had both of those stadiums in the hand already and being disrupted by the Marnie. Marnie path is just incredible in this matchup.
So I don't think João has quite everything he needs. I didn't see an energy card there in the hand. Shady Dealings can pick up this active Drizzile. But
so if he does get the evolution, though, he will have, well, no, actually, he will not have the Starbirth ability if Path to the Peak is in play.
That's right.
So that is a very crucial point to make there, because even though the Path to the Peak is carrying so much weight against the Mew VMAX, it is also limiting yourself as well as the Arceus player, because you're no longer able to activate your V-Star power, which is an ability on Arceus V-Star.
And this is going to be great. Evolution Incense gets the Intellion, and now Shady Dealings can get João 2 trainers. I think the only way, though, for him to get an energy would actually be to bump the stadium, which I don't know if you want to do, unless there is an energy hiding in that hand and I didn't notice it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, what is the play that you go here for, Chip? Do you rely on, you know, continuing to stall out?
He does have the energy, so yeah, we're going to leave the path in play. That definitely makes plenty of sense. Here comes Arceus V. Boom, there's the V-Star Water Energy for turn. And now we'll be dealing 200 damage, KOing this Oricorio. I guess actually 180 thanks to the Lesson in Zeal ability. But now that will be a prize card, and more energies accelerated to the bench, and a big charm to add on top of it.
Yeah, that is a great recovery here from João from a bit of a slow start, but equally as slow after that Path to the Peak being played during Joao's turn to kind of limit Samuel there. But yeah, 180, but not from the double turbo. It is from that Oricorio, but once that is taken out, then we will see that full 200. As long as the Arceus V-Star can remain standing, and it's looking pretty good here, especially with that big charm being on the 280 hit point Pokemon. So adding 30 to that on top of it is just going to be one more barrier that Samuel's going to have to get through.
Trinity Nova takes the KO. A prize card going Joao's way. It was that Sharon's Care. That could be a great option if Samuel takes a hit into this Arceus this turn, and we know that there is just an Alessa Sparkle as the draw for turn.
Tossing it back here to Samuel. Meloetta being played to the bench. Alessa's Sparkle being activated, targeting 2 Pokemon to attach 1 Fusion Strike energy, or sorry, 1 Fusion energy.
And
each
will just be the fusion energy, and I actually am pretty sure Samuel discarded the 4th fusion energy earlier on in this game, so this is going to be all the fusion energy that he has to work with.
Making sure to get a good shuffle there. I like the pacing of both these players, thinking out all of their moves here. Nicholas playing the Mew VMAX in our last matchup, going extremely quickly.
Right.
But Samuel taking his time here.
Thinking through things a bit more.
Absolutely.
Melodious Echo deals 190 damage, thanks to double turbo, reducing the damage by 20. Really solid hit here.
But João almost lined up perfectly as long as there is a double turbo for him for his Sharon's Care play.
I don't see the DTE just yet, and I actually don't know if he has a way to search it out. He obviously has not used Starbirth, so the direct path would be to bump the path to the peak, but that is a risky move to make.
Risky business there, bumping the path to the peak, which is really...
Oh, the energy switch is actually going to come in huge here. Before João plays the Sharon's Care, he can move an energy off of this active Arceus to the bench, and then play Sharon's Care, pick up this Arceus, attach an energy for turn. Wow, this is really excellent for João.
That is incredible. Energy switch and the Raihan being drawn from the deck here from João off of that Inteleon Shady Dealings. That is a huge play here. No longer needing the double turbo as long as there is another basic energy, which we will see. Oh, wow.
Oh, Aqua Bullet coming out, actually.
I like that as well, because then you're still putting damage onto that Mew VMAX, but you're also not really having to put up a 2-prizer either.
And it'll set up a Genesect to be an easy prize choice later on in the game.
Absolutely, putting that extra damage. Those Genesects, as long as they don't have those Fusion Strike energies on them, are not protected there from any sort of pings. So here we go.
Aqua Bullet dealing 120 to the active, 20 to a Genesect. And now draw for turn from Samuel. Does he find a stadium? The deck has been shuffled now.
I don't see it.
I think it was a quick ball as the draw for turn.
I feel like we would have seen it slam down real quickly here for Samuel.
I have to agree.
All right, here we go. Quick ball, discarding a card here and searching out a basic Pokemon. The bench is full right now, though.
This is just going to thin a card out of the deck, so now Samuel isn't going to draw this Mew V next turn. He's much more likely to draw into something like a Stadium or a Cramomatic, whatever it may be.
Yeah, anything to bump that Stadium is exactly what Samuel needs right now. It is getting really tense in this matchup. Still plenty of time, 12 minutes left on the clock here. Hard retreating into that Meloetta.
And Melodious Echo does take a KO on Inteleon, taking a prize card. And it's actually going to be a boss out of the prizes. That's pretty good.
Could have maybe also potentially seen that Cramomatic as well, which was also in the prizes. So just missed that. But still, it's never guaranteed. Always up to the coin flip there on the crams.
And João prepped for this last turn by getting Raihan off of the Shady Dealings, because he knew if his Pokemon went down, he wanted to Raihan, get the energy attachment, and then have the other energy in hand to just pull off the attack here. This is really excellent.
Not only that, but João's just lined up for a lot of plays here. As long as he can set up, you know, another attacker, get some energy on the board state as well, we could potentially see a Sharon's Care play down the line, which would just be denying even more prize cards for Samuel, who's already at a bit of a disadvantage here because he's having to work through these 2 prize card Pokemon, 1 prize card Pokemon, while he is sitting with a 3 prize card Pokemon of Mew VMAX with damage already on the board.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by João's play, to be honest. He has been playing very cleanly. He's got things lined up and really game planned this matchup out excellently.
Yeah.
No surprise to see him at such a high record for this event.
I agree completely. Quick balling out an Arceus V here to search out another basic Pokemon, also just thinning through the deck as well.
Now shuffling up. Just getting that Dunsparce out, doesn't want it anymore. See Drizzile in the hand. Did grab the Pal Pad and will choose to shuffle a couple supporters back here. Sharon's Care seems like a great choice to me for number 1. And Melanie will be the second.
Being shuffled back into the deck now from the discard pile. Deck is thin, but not too thin here for João. Still plenty of turns left.
I'll be interested to see if João chooses to bench the Arceus V that he's holding in hand. Does he want to put a 2-prize liability in play and charge some energies up onto it?
There we go.
And he does choose to do it, so it's an opening for Samuel, but Samuel does need quite a bit here in order to even take a 2-prize KO.
And 2 of those Fusion Strike energies being taken off the board now is huge.
And there's actually no basic energy cards remaining in the deck for João. He's discarded a bunch this game. through quick balls and ultra balls.
All right, there we go. João going down 2 prize cards there off of that knockout.
And Choice Belt is the top deck for turn from Samuel, so he can take a 2-prize knockout here. Belt to the active and Boss's orders bring up that Arceus V that João just put down.
Yeah, still unfortunately having to deal with that path to the peak.
It can at least take some prizes, though.
Yes. Working through this matchup to the best of his ability here, Samuel is going to do just that. Take the knockout there on that Arceus V, exactly what you talked about, Chip. A potential liability on the bench, and it served to be that, unfortunately, for João. Top decking another Arceus V, I think is what I just saw there, though. So Samuel going down another 2 prize cards, only 2 prize cards left. Really trekking through, wow, that wasn't even owed to trekking shoes, but it kind of worked out. Trekking through his deck right now, trying to grind through this match, even with the path to the peak in play and being so hindered from not being able to draw off those Fusion Strike abilities.
Oh, and this is really kind of risky from João. I guess your opponent did just take 2 prize cards, so you don't know what they may or may not have access to, but choosing to rock sand when you know your opponent has not had a stadium in hand for a few turns, even though you're putting them at less cards in hand, you are giving them a little bit of a reset. So it's a little risky, but I can understand why he'd want to do it since Samuel did just take 2 prizes.
That is definitely risky, for sure.
That second Shady Dealings Intellion is in the prizes for João. Let's not forget. So he will not have access to that powerful ability of Intellion.
All right, so not only, we are going to see the Roxanne here, and Samuel, I'm sure, very happy to see that. Quickly shuffling the deck, please hit a stadium. Hit a stadium, I need this really bad. But João is also going to be able to draw 6 cards as well. So not only was it drawing Samuel into 2, but João did only have 2 cards in hand. One, I believe, was an energy and then an Arceus V, so he will actually have 6 upcoming here in hand to play around, to play with, to see what he wants to do to carry out his next couple of actions and hopefully wrap up this game in his favor.
A bunch of cards for each of these players. Just 2 for Samuel, 6 for João to work with. Let's see if Samuel's going to show us what he gets here. Is there a stadium going to be in this hand? João giving it a nice, clean shuffle.
I would do the same. Here we go. This is huge for Samuel.
1 trekking shoes. And another card I can't quite see.
It looks kind of like a supporter, but I don't know. All right, we are just going to be left on a cliffhanger there until we are at Samuel's turn, but we are still on João's turn here, and there are a bunch of plays that he can now make with his hand. So, but he's just going to go for it, knock out this Mew VMAX for 3 prize cards, going down to only 1 prize card left for this match, which is incredibly strong of a situation to be in here, especially with that Meloetta there on the bench with not much hit points.
João will get 3 prize cards here and takes everything but that Shady Dealings Intellion.
Okay, energy off the top there, trekking shoes. This is huge, discarding it.
Oh, and it's a VIP pass, and the other 2 cards are Boss's Orders and a basic Psychic.
This is a scary situation to be in here for Samuel. I don't think, if he doesn't have some sort of answer here, and he only has a Boss and a Battle VIP pass in hand.
It's got to be Boss and hope that your opponent doesn't have the retreat option, and I think João already has the energy in hand just to pass. Let's see if João has it. There's the energy card. And that will be enough.
Wow.
Can just Trinity Nova the active Mew V and take the last remaining KO for the final prize. João Pedro Medeiros Zambrano moving to a record of 9-2-1.
Absolutely incredible. So 2 very similar matchups that we just casted over for our 2 round 12s. Both of the players just playing flawlessly. I think both of these matches that we got to cast here today, Chip.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really impressed for sure by João. I mentioned it at the end of that game. He made some